Board members, we are streaming.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Education Finance Committee meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order. Dr. Albright, may I have a roll call, please?
Heather Benavides. I believe she's signing on. Ronaldo Tomborito.
Here.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Here.
Josefina Dominguez.
Here. Thank you. Our first item is to consider adoption of the August 27th, 2025 Finance Committee meeting agenda. May I have a motion, please?
I move to adopt the August 27th, 2025 Finance Committee meeting agenda.
I will second. Board Member Tomorito.
Thank you. Dr. Albright, may I have a roll call?
Josefina Dominguez.
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomborito.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes, and good morning.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes. Thank you. Our next item is to have an update. Oops, I'm sorry. Our next item is to consider approval of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting on July 23rd, 2025. May I have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes of the finance meeting of July 23rd, 2025. This is Board Member Benavides.
I'll second. This is Board Member Dominguez.
Dr. Albright, may I have a roll call?
Josefina Dominguez.
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomborito.
Yes.
Heather Benavides.
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes. Thank you. Our next item is to have an update on the district's investment program for the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2025. And our presenter for this is Ms. Apodaca and Mr. Turnbull. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Blakey. Again, this is an investment update for the period of April 1st through June 30th, 2025. So the district's portfolio was invested primarily in money market funds. Book yield on the total portfolio decreased from 4.31 to 4.26. Interest earnings were approximately 12.3 million as compared to 7.2. Breakdown was 47% money market account, 24% treasury and agency bonds, and 24% in the local government investment pool. Current money market funds are at approximately 425 million as compared to 257 million from the previous quarter. We did have some operational fund treasuries mature in June, so that's raised that total from the treasuries to the money market. The local government investment portfolio went from up to 230 million to 108 from 180. And with that, I stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turnbull. Members of the committee, any questions related to this item?
Just curious, what do we do with that money market gain? That it's been a good quarter. Do we squirrel it away or?
It goes into the next year's budget, numbers for different things. But it's all allocated to funding the district's needs. But that would be how budget decides to allocate that money once it's earned. There's no specific bucket or no specific expenditure. Those have to be that gets spent on.
Right.
It's to the overall budget and the operational.
Okay.
Or it might be capital too. It depends on the breakdown of the balances and which funds get the interest earnings.
That's good to know. And I do have a request for are we on 4.1? I think we're on 4.1.
Yes, we are.
clarification on, please, for page 28. And let me find, you know what, that's in the next, that's in the next section. Never mind. But just for the sake of clarity, we follow all laws and are doing right by the public.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I see none. We will go ahead and continue. Thank you, Mr. Turnbull. Our next item is to consider approval of fiscal year 27 budget calendar. And our presenter for this is Ms. Apodaca and Ms. Montoya. You have the floor, ladies.
Thank you, Board Member Romero and Finance Committee Board Member Superintendent Blakey. The item up for consideration is our FY 27 budget calendar. So last year we provided you one a little bit later in the year. And this year we wanted to start earlier. So we have the budget calendar. So you'll be aware of the activities that happen with the upcoming budget. You'll see at the very end, we do have the April 15th date for submission, and that date is what's in statute. Historically, we do get a little bit of an extension, so if that happens, this could change a bit, but at least you get understanding of the activities leading up to the approval of the budget.
Thank you, Ms. Apodaca. Do we have any questions from the committee? Board Member Dominguez?
Yes, I do have a question. So regarding the third row item under activity, community meetings, will you be scheduling something with the community engagement ad hoc committee, planning that event? Or those events, actually.
Board Member Dominguez, thank you for that question. I believe Rosalinda's on the call, but those discussions have already started to happen with the board office. And, you know, you're correct. They are talking about where the meeting should take place and the dates and the agenda, that type of information. And those have already started to begin. And so Rosalinda, if you wanted to add anything.
Yes, so we've already found the meetings, and they are in October. The dates are still being solidified, just like Ms. Apodaca mentioned, depending on who's available. We're going to have one probably in Bonifacio and then one again on the west side. And we also have started our survey, so we'll have that available coming out soon probably at the end of September, so that it'll be ready before that meeting, and also that once again they can fill out the survey at the time like we did last year.
So what questions are, who's framing the questions, and is it the finance department that will be in charge of that?
So we already set up preliminary questions. We had Asia, Chris West's team help us with the formatting of the questions so that they're so it's easy to compile the information that we get. And so they just sent me back another one to review. So I'm going to be reviewing that, and then we'll probably have it ready. We did bring it, or we were going to take it to the ad hoc committee meeting also to get input. So we asked to be put on that agenda also.
Okay, it's just some feedback based on last year and then recent feedback. the complaint about surveys is that community doesn't get a chance to frame the question. So if we could have, I think we've had free response in the past. Am I incorrect on that? Did we have that?
We usually have another category, so we try to make sure that we're kind of giving information so it's not just all over the place and then it's hard to compile the data. But but we do want to have, I believe there is a section in some of those where it says other and they can freeform fill in their requests.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Member Benavides.
Thank you, Chair Tapia Romero. So thank you, Rosalinda and Renette, for that, for the calendar and for the information. And so I would request that, because not all the board members are on the ad hoc committee, and I was recently removed, that information about the meetings or about the community engagement event for the budget process be disseminated to all board members so that we have an opportunity to participate, and also reach out to our own community members and encourage participation and attendance, because obviously they're very interested in how we're spending the money. And the event that I was part of last year, while it was fantastic, there was very little community engagement. So we just want to really make sure that the community members know this is happening and that they have all the information. So please make sure and communicate that to all board members. Thank you.
We definitely will do that as soon as we get everything solidified. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Member Morito, go ahead.
My question is on the program presentations for special education. Could you give me a breakdown about what that would look like a little bit? I know that when we look at state funds and then going down to district, is that gonna be the presentation on funding flow?
So I am working on those budget presentation templates currently. I'm gonna try to follow what was done last year, how we separated all the different, so it will be special ed on its own, special ed, capital, all the big buckets will have their own presentation. And I believe we're going to start those possibly as early as February, or I can't remember what I have on the calendar.
Yeah, March.
March, yes. So March, so we'll do March, April, and then of course May will be the final presentation. Or if we have to follow this calendar as given to you now, we'll move everything up a month.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Montoya. We will continue. Our next item is to consider approval of grant budget adjustments for 2 funds. The first one is for MERCOG GRO appropriation number 1, and also MERCOG appropriations number 2. And our presenter for this is going to be Ms. Apodaca and Ms. Montoya.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Superintendent Blakey. I bring consideration for approval to grant budget adjustments for the Mid-Region Council of Government, Government Results and Opportunity Fund 1 and 2. When budgets were entered, they are projections, and now that we have the actual allocations, we are processing corrections for budget decreases for the 2-year implementation of state direct grants that incurred. And the reason we're doing this is because we used up all of it in 1 year. So instead of how we had projected that it would go over 2 years, we've depleted the entire allocation by 6/30. So it's not any loss of funding. It's just readjusting these to actuals.
Thank you, Ms. Montoya, for that clarification on that. Members of the committee, do we have any questions on this adjustment? Board Member Dominguez.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. I don't want to make assumptions. At the bottom of page 28, it says justification 826 full allocation liquidated by 6/30 2025 LG Board of Education, 8/26/25. And then under compliance with sections 10-15-1 and 22-8-12 NMSA 1978 compilation, the B references explanations such as under budgeted and insufficient budget. I'm assuming that we're good, that is just well, why is that there? This
Well,
doesn't apply to us, right? We don't have a
Yeah, that
finding.
particular part doesn't, that's probably the most common is to do that, but in our case, we're just bringing this to the board for approval, showing that we have depleted the funds. We did receive it, and I hope that.
Okay, so we
Keep
haven't, we haven't had a finding or we're out of line. It's just stating that we've depleted and we're following
Correct.
rules. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you for that. We will now consider approval for the July 2025 interfunction transfers for grant budget. And our presenter for this is Ms. Montoya. Go ahead.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Superintendent Blakey, I bring for your consideration for approval the interfunction entries. These are just routine beginning of the year corrections for the current fiscal year.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
again, for
Montoya.
questions.
Sorry, thank you. Members of the committee, any questions?
Yes, I
Member
have a
Dominguez?
question. So it's really hard to, I've said this before here, and I've said it at NMSBA. It's really hard to know how to be how to execute the responsibilities of being a board member when we get reports like this, right? Because they're just rows and rows of information, and it's so I did some digging and came up with these questions, or rather responsibilities. My job is to confirm that transfers don't shift funds away from high need students. And I guess that's the question. That's one question. Are we shifting funds away from high need students? Because I can't tell from this kind of the report as written. And then the other is ensure programs serving Native American tribes, Spanish-speaking families, ELL students, and students with disabilities remain fully supported, and that these all somehow tie back to our goals and our guardrails.
Do you,
Board-
go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Board Member Dominguez, Finance Chair Romero, Superintendent Blakey, thank you for that question. We tried to add into the action memo an explanation of what interfunction and intrafunction is, more in non-finance terms. So if you look at the agenda item, one of the things that we put on there is that they don't change the total budget, but they shift funds to where they're needed the most. So a lot of times these budgets are created like in February, March, and then now months later, we're using them for our students that are in the classrooms. So I think to your point, there may be needs for special education or Yazzie Martinez students that the principals have identified, so they're shifting budget to where they're needed the most.
And I think coupled with that is that there's internal procedures for it that require signatures of supervisors. And so as the leaders have to sign off that it's an appropriate transfer of interfunction, that's where that level of detail comes as far as making sure that the department signature person is making sure that the reason for the transfer matches what our needs are.
The allocation that we approved in the first place, is that?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'd
Go
like,
ahead.
and within that justification, as Superintendent Blakey was mentioning, that we also have to include which goal it deals with. So
Okay, and so again, you know, it's I have to ask because I don't just getting this information, I guess it would be helpful just to say, you know, we are following the approved budget set by the board and et cetera. Nothing has changed really, other than we're spending the money the way we said we were going to spend the money. And just a point of clarification about why does Van Buren, and I'm not complaining, really, I love that Van Buren's on the map. Why is Van Buren the only school that appears here with its expense on page 33?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey. That is a cleanup. So specific to agenda item 5.3, that's a cleanup for Van Buren. I don't want to jump ahead of the board, but I will say if you go to 5.4, there are multiple schools, and that's the difference between the inter-function and the intra-function transfer that was alluded to earlier. So the actual movement of funds where it's needed the most, that affects multiple schools in the overall package of today's agenda.
Board Member Dominguez, if I may jump in, and
Yes.
I don't want to jump like Dr. Blair mentioned in front of the board, to give you a bigger picture and assurance on the budget transfers. We start the year with the budget as approved by the grantor, in this case, PED, aligned exactly with the application. And then any changes that we complete to the application, we bring in front of you for approvals. They might be split because they might be in the same function and be intra-function, or between functions, and that's our current inter-function transfer. But all the changes starting from that point on are being brought to you for review and approval. And all the justifications for the changes, we try to align them directly to the goals, so you understand what is shifting and why.
I guess it's the problem becomes when I hear the changes that are all changes are brought to the board, and so it implies that there's a change to what had previously been agreed to. And I'm getting the sense that that's not the case. It's more of a shift of funds, or
yes. If we take the example of Van Buren, for example, we see that they were planning professional development, but the assessment analyzed that a better use for the funding is a math teacher. And that is what you're seeing into our change. You see the negative in professional development and a positive in the position of a teacher. And we provide you the explanation of funding for math teacher salary.
Okay. But that's a on-site decision, right? I mean, that's who are we to get it?
And I think that's what keeps this budget, you know, any transfers is what keeps it really precise, and is that we give some autonomy to each of the areas. So each school has the autonomy to change funds according to any shifts in their enrollment numbers. Like they may have thought, you know, last year we had a lot of need for bilingual, and they can just shift a little bit as they know their current school year needs. So, and that's hard to really project. I mean, you can project somewhat, but it's hard to be exact.
Yeah.
Back in February or March or April when we're building these budgets. So as we get into the school year, it's easier to start making those shifts. And that's why you see so many moves, because a lot of times people feel more comfortable like putting it in one bucket and then readjusting as needed, or they know, my kids tend to be the same and they know exactly where to put it. So that's why you see so many of these adjustments. And it's not that we're just trying to fine tune the budget, and that's just
Right.
what happens throughout the year.
But you touch on an important point, right? In terms of goals, the decision to go from PD, which I see more as a guardrail, to very deliberate goal 2. There's a need there at Van Buren, and I imagine that explains why 5.4 is that intra function. Yes, also has okay, this is good for me for future questions in terms of program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions related to inter-function transfers? Okay, I see none. We will go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consider approval of July 2025 intra-function transfers for grant budget. And I will give it back to you, Ms. Montoya.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Superintendent Blakey. So I bring for consideration approval the intra-function transfers for grant budget. For the first section, the final end of year entries are necessary to close the fiscal year for grants, and they were completed in July against the prior FY 24-25 budget, and beginning of the year corrections for this current fiscal year, along with budget movement of Title II through 4 grants into holding accounts due to the federal freeze. Then due to the timing delay, we will bring the reversion of these actions based on the unfreeze notification in the next finance agenda. So there's lots of reasons for these movements, but at this point, the budgets have been realigned for spending access.
Thank you, Ms. Montoya. Go ahead, Board Member Dominguez.
Is there any chance that we could get a report that shows the movement in terms of grants? And I imagine you mean like is it Title I, are those considered grants, or are we talking about something?
Title I, II, III, IV. Those are the ones we're speaking of here. But yeah, so anything that's in the intra-function transfers for grant budget, those are all grant funds. And then when I go into the non-categorical funds, then those are the operational funds. So all of these that we've been speaking to in this item and the prior item are all grant related.
Yeah, and I see Title I, of course, is our largest expanse. Is that the only one here, or let me keep scrolling. No, there you go. I'm just trying to make this information a little more useful to us. To talk in terms of shifts, like do we see shifts happening or changes happening mostly because of decrease in enrollments or increase in enrollment that was unexpected? Are these going to, how much of this is going to PD? How much is going to like what happened at Van Buren to very directly address the goals in terms of FTEs, I guess is what I'm getting at.
So for clarification, Board Member Dominguez, are you wanting the summary that they currently provide now? Is that, are you needing further clarification on that?
The summary is the action report, right? Is this what you're talking about? The background? I'm talking about, we have all these pages. It would be useful to me as a board member to know where these shifts are happening. What's happening, it would give us a better idea of what the movement is at the school level. What are the decisions being made? What are the, if I remember correctly, the beginning of the year was always crazy because we had projected enrollment one way, and then, you know, some schools get an influx of new enrollment. And so are they shifting their budget to more FTEs? Where are we seeing this? Just in terms of understanding the ebb and flow of the district.
I'll let Superintendent Blakey, I know she came off mute. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair and Board Member Dominguez. I think overall, you know, we do want to keep a level of autonomy for the schools to be able to utilize these funds. And so there's, you know, they have their instructional councils that work on their budgets, and things shift as the year goes on, just for a variety of reasons for different schools. So from a high level, there isn't, you know, with federal funds particularly, there isn't a lot of movement that we really want to micromanage in that sense with the schools, because it's not an allocation from the district, like operational, how we're budgeting schools, and we want to say like, oh wait, we're really getting tight in middle school. Do we need to adjust our funding formula? The use of these funds is a little bit different because of the way that they're allocated and because of the way the schools distribute it. What we could do is, you know, as we start planning for the budget for next year, is give more high level, this is kind of where we're moving money, because we've seen this as a high level of where schools tend to really fall short. But schools do have autonomy in building their budget. So even if we were to say we're going to give them more money for supplies, that's something schools decide on their own, how much money goes into supplies. So it's this balance as we create the budget on the site-based decision of it, which is why we tend to support when the principals submit this and when their leads sign off on budget transfers, there is a tendency to support it, because very few of them are ever denied with the justifications, because it is site-based. So we do try to keep it that way. And then maybe before we build the budget, we can do an overview of this is where we saw the majority of the intra-functions and inter-functions being moved, which also Dr. Blea knows this probably more than my answer to it, but there is always shifts also in personnel, because when you use federal funds for personnel, somebody who left, when you replace that person, they could cost a different amount in your title funds. And so you have to make adjustments there, especially when money is used for personnel, because not every person filling the position is the exact same amount.
And I wholeheartedly appreciate that explanation, and I want to ensure or assure everyone here that my questions aren't about micromanaging. They're really, I'm trying to help us get the information we need to keep it at a high level. So, for example, I've asked this in the past, graphing trends would do exactly what you just suggested, Dr. Blakey. It would help us understand the movement, right? So that we can keep it high level, and in the policy sector, the goals and the guardrails. So that's the intent of my question. So yes, graphing trends would help me as a board member tremendously. And I don't know, maybe it would help my fellow committee members as well.
Thank you. Members of the committee, any other questions on this item? Okay, I see none. We will continue. Our next item is to consider approval of the July 2025 interfunction transfers for all non-categorical funds. And I will turn this over to Ms. Montoya.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board members, Superintendent Blakey, I bring this agenda item requests the approval of 13 interfunction budget transfers in the operational fund totaling $407,000. 6 of the 13 transfers use at-risk funds, 1 uses bilingual funds, and the remaining 6 use general funds. And I stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions related to this item? Okay. I'm just pausing, making sure. Okay, thank you. We will continue. So our next item is to consider approval of July 2025 intra-function transfers for all non-categorical funds. And Ms. Montoya, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This agenda item requests your approval of intra-function budget transfers for all non-categorical funds totaling $6.1 million in operational funds, $60,000 in transportation funds, $1.2 million in food and nutrition services funds, $214,000 in facility enterprise funds, and $19 million in capital funds. And I stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Montoya. Members of the committee, any questions? Okay, thank you so much. Our next item now is to continue approval of statement of budget adjustment decrease of $10,094,827. And our presenter for this is Mr. Ellison. I will turn it over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Blakey. I am presenting for your consideration the approval of a statement of our budget adjustment decrease of the $10,094,827. The budget adjustment decrease is requested to correct the New Mexico PED's final revenue allocation of our SB9 for fiscal year 25-26. And I stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Members of the committee, any questions? Okay, I see none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our next item is to consider approval of gifts, grants, and donations for more than $5,000. Our first is a grant of $15,000 to Highland High School from Davis, New Mexico Scholarship. Second is for $10,000 to Manzano High School from James Stevens. And our presenter for this is Mr. Turnbull. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Blakey. Again, this was to approve acceptance of 2 donations, $15,000 to Highland High School. This is going to be used to pay for college trips, college and curriculum materials, and SAT prep. And then we have a $10,000 donation to Manzano High School, and this is to pay for items for at-risk students. So with that, I stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Turnbull. There we go. Board Member Dominguez, go ahead.
Is it possible to get an address for both of these donors?
They're usually addressed on the check. I'm not sure.
For the purpose of
yeah,
sending a thank you note.
yes, yes, we can get you that information.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions related to this item, committee members? Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Turnbull. We will go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consider approval of district purchase or expenditures that equals or exceeds $500,000. This is for classroom manipulatives. And I will turn this over to Ms. Apodaca as our presenter.
Thank you. Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent Blakey, this item for approval is related to a bid that APS issued. It is to establish a as-needed contract. So as schools or departments need classroom manipulatives, they can use this contract, not have to go through separate bidding or getting multiple quotes. This contract will be established up to 8 years, and they estimate $3 million using operational and grant funds.
Great,
And
thank you, Ms.
established-
Apodaca.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize.
Mm.
Okay, go
Question?
ahead, Board Member Dominguez.
How are these vendors selected? And I have a follow-up.
Okay. Board Member Dominguez, this is a bid. So this was actually selected on their submission. This is a percentage off discount. So what they do is they provide a discount off a price, off a catalog price. And then we actually try to award as many as we can because there's different needs in this manipulatives. So we want to make sure that we have enough vendors for the different type of items that could be purchased.
And that makes financial sense, of course, right? And I really appreciate that there were 2 vendors from Albuquerque and 1 regional. I think Touch Math is Colorado. And so that's good. And because I'm also someone who likes to talk a lot about culturally, linguistically relevant curriculum, I think it's a challenge to find vendors who are local, who are going to serve that need, or even regionally to serve that need. And I wonder if I'm hoping that because we have 2 vendors from Albuquerque, that the bidding process is conducive to small local businesses that way.
Yes, as a matter of fact, small businesses, New Mexico business, veteran business, Native American business, they get like extra points within the procurement code. So if they register through the state of New Mexico taxation and revenue for that resident business preference, when we go through a bid or a request for proposal, they could get extra points because of that distinction.
Right, right. And it's a matter of, yeah, lending support and guidance to those smaller businesses who may not know how to do that yet. So thank you. No, I was happy to see 2 vendors from Albuquerque and a regional one from Touch Math from Colorado, rather. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions related to this item? Okay, I see none. We will continue. Our next item is to consider approval of district purchase or expenditures that equals or exceeds $500,000. This is for district telecommunication services. And Ms. Apodaca or Mr. Gonzalez, hello, good morning. Over to you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Superintendent Dr. Blakey. We stand before you today for your consideration of approval for the purchase or expenditure that equals or exceeds $500,000 for the purposes of district telecommunication services. This process did abide by district procedural directive as well as state procurement code process. I am joined this morning by Dr. Richard Bowman, our Chief Technology Officer, should you have any questions, and we seek your approval.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Members of the committee, any questions on this item? Okay, I see none. Thank you. We will continue. Our next item is to consider approval of district purchase or expenditures that equals or exceeds $500,000. And this one is for bulk fuel. And Dr. Gonzalez, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yes, likewise, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Dr. Blakey, we seek your approval for the purchase of an expenditure that equals or exceeds $500,000 for bulk fuel. Likewise, this process did abide by District Procedural Directive and State Procurement Code. I am joined this morning by our Assistant Deputy of Operations, John Dufay. Should you have any questions, we seek your approval.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Members of the committee, any questions? Okay, thank you. Our next item is to consider approval of district purchase or expenditures that equals or exceeds $500,000. And this is for police radio dispatch equipment. And Dr. Gonzalez, over to you, sir.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Dr. Blakey, we do stand for seeking your approval for an expenditure that equals or exceeds $500,000 for police radio dispatch equipment. This process did abide by District Procedural Directive and State Procurement Code. We seek your approval. Stand for your questions.
Great, thank you. Board Member Dominguez, your question.
Could you just elucidate what this is gonna, how this is gonna help our police department, who needs a lot of help?
Yes, I am joined by our Chief Technology Officer, Dr. Bowman, who can elaborate on that for us. Dr. Bowman?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Gonzalez. Thank you for your question, Board Member Dominguez. This purchase will enable us to connect our radios to the state and the city and the county radio systems, and it will enable us to, it'll enable our dispatchers to be able to override the radio waves to make sure that messages in an emergency are able to be sent appropriately. Right now, the dispatchers share the same the radio waves, I guess. They share the same radio waves as everyone else, and so they experience some challenges in emergency right now. This will help us give them kind of a priority key so their messages get out.
And did you say this includes, I heard city and state, does it include county?
Yes, all of the public safety people in the county. Yes,
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Bowman and Dr. Gonzalez. Okay, sorry guys, I think my internet was struggling. We will go ahead and continue. Our next item is to consider approval of July 2025 cash disbursements, and our presenter for this is Ms. Apodaca. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Board Members, Superintendent Blakey, PSAB requires that a summary listing of vouchers be presented to the local school board for approval and entry into the minutes. This meets those requirements. I also wanted to bring to your attention in the supporting documents, something that we started adding. If you go to the very, very last page, we started adding our payroll disbursements because, as you know, in the district, almost 90% is FTEs and payroll. So I thought that would be very important for the public to see and the board members. So we're going to start adding those and also doing a graph so you can see as it proceeds in the year how much the payroll amounts are. So for July 2025, you can see that our payroll was 59 million. And that's it. I stand for question.
Thank you, Ms. Apodaca. I tell you, when I saw that too, I think that was enlightening to get that payroll category, because again, we've heard so many times that our budget, people say it's inflated, but not realizing that most of it is going to staff, going to payroll, going to the workforce. And I thank you for including that and for being intentional with that line item. Board Member Dominguez, go ahead.
I'm sorry, what page number did you say that line item was found on?
Yes, it's going to be the very last page of all the justification where it lists everything out. Here on my screen, I see it as page 35, but I'm not sure if that's the same page number for you.
Yeah, no, it's we're in the hundreds.
Okay, so I apologize.
But I went to 725 and I'm struggling to find the line item.
If you look at the final summary at the back with all the different categories, you'll see that they included an additional line that says payroll.
So you're talking about no, it's not on my summary. July
Very
summary.
end of the cash disbursements page, the very last page of that.
I'll figure it out later. I don't want to hold this up because I do have a few questions, but I agree that the public needs to know, Chair, that most of our money goes to FTEs and additionally, we don't need less money, we need more money because everyone is clamoring for smaller classes. Parents are, and so are teachers. Another piece that caught my eye is construction services and construction services non-capital in the summary under expense categories. We're looking at what, 6 million there in July alone. And so if I understand this correctly, the 4,600,000 come out of capital, and then the 1,600,000 is non-capital. Is that correct? Am I reading that correctly?
That's correct. And it's probably more maintenance, but I can double check that for you.
And so on that topic, I know we shifted strategies this year. Probably a good idea to keep the HVAC units going over the summer to make adjustments before school started, and in the hopes that classrooms would be a little more tolerable in terms of their temperature. Could we have a breakdown of like who are the vendors that we work with and what the total amount that we're spending on HVAC and who gets what amount?
And Board Member Dominguez, I know they have provided this. I want to just make sure we stay on track for exactly what we have listed here for the cash disbursements. And I know Dr. Gonzalez did provide a summary to all of us specifically on what was happening regarding HVAC units. So we could, if you want him to resend that out to you, we can. But
yeah, I don't think that summary had what I'm asking for, which is a breakdown of vendors.
The vendors have been provided at previous finance meetings because all of that does need to be approved anytime we have the RFP, and that has been included. But if you need that again, we can ensure that you get that. So I would say if you can put that question in writing to the finance team.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
Thank
do we
you.
have any other, of course, any other questions related to cash disbursements? Okay, thank you. So I will continue. So our next item now is to consider recommending consent agenda board approval for items discussed during the August 27th, 2025 Finance Committee meeting. These include fiscal year 27 budget calendar, grant budget adjustments, July intra and intra function transfers for grant budget, July intra and inter function transfers for all non-categorical funds, statement of budget adjustment decrease, gifts, grants, and donations, district purchase or expenditures that equals or exceeds $500,000, including classroom manipulatives, district telecommunication services, bulk fuel, police radio dispatch equipment, and finally, July 2025 cash disbursements. May I have a motion, please?
I move that we that we add to the consent agenda for board approval of all items discussed during August. I'm sorry, am I on the right place? Yes, August 27th, 2025 Finance Committee meeting.
And I'll second. This is Board Member Benavides.
Thank you. Dr. Albright, may I have a roll call, please?
Heather Benavides,
Yes.
Josefina Dominguez,
Yes.
Ronaldo Tomorito,
Yes.
Crystal Tapia Romero.
Yes, thank you. So our next Finance Committee meeting will be Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 at 8 a.m. virtually, or you can watch on the APS Board of Education YouTube channel. And with that being said, this meeting is adjourned. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.